Good evening. My name is Dr. Tiller, and I am here to help you. Dr. Chilton has already filled me in on your patient history, as well as the reason for you being institutionalized. He mentioned that he was having trouble getting through to you in your evaluation sessions, and I volunteered my expertise for this interview. Now, Chilton Frederick was kind enough to give me a copy of your file, which I have right here. And I must say, you are quite fascinating. You were a respected and highly successful surgeon with a lovely wife and kids, an adoring family, and it all came apart. What we'll hopefully uncover today is what went wrong to land you here. Frederick mentioned that you were a quiet one. Now, what I want to do with you tonight is quite simple. There will be 3 courses. Formal questions, some ink block cards, and then something fun for dessert. This requires your participation, and I hope you'll be able to manage a bit more than yes and no answers by the end of it. So let's begin. First, some questions. While walking along in desert sand, you suddenly look down and see a tortoise crawling towards you. You reach down and flip it over onto its back. The tortoise lies there, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it cannot do so without your help. You are not helping. Why? I see. That's interesting. We all like to play God, don't we? Do you think God feels good when he kills? I completely agree, actually. Next question. Someone gives you a calfskin wallet for your birthday. How do you react to this gift? I once received a wallet made of something a lot more abhorrent than calfskin, but that's neither here nor there. You're at an elegant dinner party. You wander into the kitchen to watch as the main course, heart tartare, is prepared. The chef pulls out what looks to be a human heart. What do you do? You know, some of the other patients in here, they would have stayed for the first course. Good to know that you don't want to eat me. The Pazzi were a noble Florentine family in the Middle Ages. Several of them were killed after a failed attempt to gain control of Florence. Francesco de Pazzi was hanged from the windows of the Piazza della Signoria with her bowels cut open to hang in the hot sun. Jacopo de Pazzi escaped Florence to later be captured, tortured, and then hanged in the same window of the Piazza della Signoria, this time with his bowels intact. What death would you choose? Hanging, bowels out, undignified to the world, or being tortured and then hanged, bowels in? Interesting. Most patients think that question can be a little odd, but I find it can lead to some interesting insights about a patient. Also, it never really hurts to learn more history, unless, of course, you're a DePazzi, which in that case generally means death. I think it's time for some ink blot cards. When I show you these cards, I want your honest opinion on how it makes you feel. Try and be as open and sublime as possible. Good. Ah, you're a dog person, I take it. Our animal preferences often bring interesting insight into how we see our companions and those who we think less than. Now, let's try some actual ink blots. What do you think of this? Strawberries. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. I guess I could see that. A little strange though, I've never heard that before. Alright, another ink blot card. What do you see? Clouds? I think you need to try harder than that, Abel. Really, you can't say clouds. Remorse. How do you is this, I guess this is how you visualize remorse. I could see that. Now, what do you see or feel when you see this? Interesting. Do you know what this is? I thought so. This is the wound man, often depicted in old school medical textbooks, and a recent inspiration of the Chesapeake Ripper. Now, tell me, how does this make you feel? That's what I suspected, Abel. This is the Chesapeake Ripper's latest victim. It was recovered a week before you murdered your wife and children. And there hasn't been another Ripper body since. Notice the incision here, the precision that would be needed for a cut like that. You were a surgeon, weren't you, Abel? Oh, nothing. I'm not writing anything bad about you, Abel. No. Hot in here, isn't it? The Chesapeake Ripper is often the topic of discussion in most of the psychiatric circles that I frequent. The killer's actions are methodical, dispassionate, and utterly brutal. This last victim was stabbed upwards of 47 times. 47 times. The focus of these discussions, though, isn't really on the stabbings themselves. Generally, the focus is, why take these trophies? Why make these surgical incisions on his victims, and why take seemingly random organs from them? A liver here, a kidney there. Hell, even this last victim, he was missing a lung. What purpose does this serve the killer? Why does the Chesapeake Ripper do this? Many of my colleagues think that the Chesapeake Ripper is doing this to play with the investigators that find these bodies. The FBI seems to think that the Ripper is selling the organs on the black market, which I find preposterous. Of course, I have my own theory as to why he takes these trophies. Remember when I asked you if God feels good when he kills? You said no, and I agreed with you. And I do agree with you, still. God doesn't feel good when he kills, but he does feel powerful. The Ripper wants to feel closer to God, so he wants to feel powerful. Everything the Ripper does to their victims is a display of total physical dominance. Taking the trophies is one final act of control, one final way to display dominance and power in the art of his victims. What do you think of all of that, Abel? Interesting. I think now would be a good time for our final course of the evening. Now, I'm going to need you to sign this consent to treatment form. What's it for? Some minor anesthesia just to make you a bit more pliable, I would say. Thank you, Abel. Let's begin. You're waking. You're waking. You're waking. Can you hear me, Abel? Can you hear me, Abel? You're waking in a warm room. In a warm room that is safe. That is safe. That is safe. You're waking. You're waking. Calm. Waking. Calm. Calm. You were a surgeon. You were a surgeon. Weren't you able? Weren't you able? You have a steady hand. A steady hand. A steady hand. Well respected. Well respected. Your colleagues know this. Colleagues know this. Colleagues know this. There hasn't been another Ripper victim. Another Ripper victim. Another Ripper since you murdered your wife and children. And children. And children. You retracted. You retracted. You retracted. To surgery because it gives you power. It gives you power over man. Over man. Over man. Do you remember what I said earlier, Abel? God likes power. Power. And so do you. Think about it, Abel. Think about it, Abel.